Hello, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar with me. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Diksha Rao, and I have been with VMware for 5 years now. I've been part of the client engineering team, and here in VMware IT, we deploy, maintain, and support various end-user computing products. Today, I'll be talking about one of my favorites, Workspace ONE UEM, and see how it can be utilized for making our mobile management efficient. It has been some time now since mobility is on the rise. From traditional way of working, we have moved to working from homes, cafes, and basically on the go. Also, a few years from now, there was a need to access corporate resources not only on a primary device but also on the other devices too. That is, any device, anywhere, anytime. When VMware had a similar situation, we decided to adopt Workspace ONE UEM, previously known as AirWatch. If you ask us why Workspace ONE UEM, here in VMware IT, we were not ready to compromise on the delivery experience that was promised to our colleagues. So here, our motto of our internal team is to provide a delightful end-user experience. But at the same time, we also had to make sure that we do it in the utmost secure way. Also, going forward, today this has been the best decision for us as it has evolved not only to support mobile platforms, but also Windows and Mac devices too. So a single pane of glass to see all of our devices state. Today in this webinar, we'll be looking more closely towards mobile devices and the things that we have achieved here in VMware by utilizing Workspace ONE UEM. If you can see this slide, we have VMware's device estate for mobile devices. We have about 76% of iOS devices and 24% Android devices. Now, you could see that we have a lot more iOS devices. We'll be covering in the later slides on how we have, what kind of different devices we have when it comes to iOS and Android too. With Workspace ONE UEM, policy enforcement is given in the hands of IT. And at the same time, colleagues are given flexibility and choice over the services, apps, according to their preferences. This way, colleagues are comfortable utilizing this without having to worry about the company snooping their personal messages or wiping their phone. Here you would see different options we have, usually with mobile device enrollments. So Workspace ONE UEM supports all these options and we can play along with the best option suitable for our colleagues. So you could see that we have options like browser access, where it might be almost equal to no management at all. That is, whenever device is accessing any of the websites in one of your browser, but it's not at all managed, what happens is they might be able to access a few sites. But then when it comes to the company security, it might not be the best option for the company. And then we have also some of the step ups after that, which is like, for example, standalone enrollment. Here you can restrict it to a specific app where you would want it only to be accessible and maybe not any of the other profiles or anything else. So even this can be there, but again, the colleague might not experience the full experience and he might not be able to utilize a lot of other features. But also at the same time, we have the flexibility to support full device management, which is like classic MDM, where the user enrolls their device for full management, essentially giving their company full control over the phone. This is the most secure option for the company since the company has total control, though some colleagues might not feel as comfortable with it since the company could wipe the user's phone and potentially cause personal information to be lost. Now, we can talk about it more later in the privacy section on how we tackle this in VMware. Coming to VMware, internally, these are the few options we have today, which we have enabled for our colleagues. Like we saw just in the previous slide, with Workspace ONE portal, they can access a few sites exposed, but they need to log in with the two-factor authentication for the first section. That is with the browser only. They could anyway access our Workspace ONE portal, but what happens is they need to go ahead and try to utilize this for the first time, and they have to enter their two-factor authentication for the same, but only after that they would be able to access the corporate resources. Next, coming to the Boxer mobile email, that is like the standalone enrollment. So we already saw about the standalone enrollment previously. So here in VMware, we can utilize this with VMware Boxer. So VMware Boxer is VMware's email recommended client. So now there are a lot of colleagues who do not want to have many other applications or profiles installed on their phone. All they want is to have emails that are being received on their device. And this is where this option is quite handy. So this is like a win-win situation for both IT administrators as well as the employees, because for employees, they get their emails, whereas for the IT administrator, it creates a device registration in the console. Yes. So what happens is we can actually track which kind of devices are being enrolled. And even if it's just a standalone enrollment like with VMware Boxer, we could utilize this. Now, there are other couple of apps which support the standalone enrollment, but this would be specifically based on VMware's internal apps. Coming to the third option, we have corporate issued devices. Now, this particular option is very handy because when it comes to a company's corporate issued devices, it's obvious that you would enroll the device and then give it to our colleagues. So here in VMware, like we saw, we have a lot of iOS devices and we use Apple's device enrollment program for utilizing this. Now, with device enrollment program, what happens is we pre-register it. That is, we are going to add the device IDs or serial numbers to the Business Apple portal, after which it can automatically enroll whenever a device is first handed to the colleague. So when the colleague is going to open it for the first time, all he has to do is enter the credentials. And once he enters the credentials, it is straightforward from there. The device gets enrolled, and after that, he wouldn't be able to unenroll the device. Now, the only time we can unenroll is if we go ahead and release this device from the Business Apple portal. So this has been very good information for corporate issue devices. But when it comes to Android, this is one aspect we have been exploring now. Since we have been taking a lot of iOS devices, Samsung Knox is a good alternative for Android. Now, even though Samsung Knox is not available in most of the countries, this is a good start for Android too. Coming to the work managed Androids. Now, we'll be talking about Android for enterprise later in the slide, but work managed Androids is slightly different. Maybe we can talk about the difference about it if time permits later. So work managed Androids, what happens with this is the whole device again is corporate dedicated and it will be fully managed by corporate, but there'll be no personal information or anything on the device. Now, for instances where in our company, we have a use case where we would want a single user, maybe like a service account, which gets enrolled to multiple devices, and maybe it's handed over to some people who can utilize a specific app. Or maybe it's like a kiosk setup where you would want to stand up a device with a single user enrollment across all the global locations, but it should be only work specific. There's nothing personal in there. So this is like a good option. So basically what I'm trying to tell here is, even though we had seen various different options with mobile device enrollment, Workspace ONE UEM is flexible enough to provide us with those options. So you can utilize based on the scenario that you have. Maybe there is a corporate owned personally enabled option, or if there's anything else that you would want, we can easily play around with Workspace ONE UEM. Finally, coming to bring your own device. Now, this is something which is very common because gone are the days when you're just restricted on working with your corporate devices. It's quite common now that we expect every one of us to work in our personal devices too, and it's not restricted just to your corporate issue devices. So bring your own device is something that we would want to support very flexibly, and that is what we do here in a company too. So basically we have full device management when it comes to bring your own device, but at the same time, even if it's your personal device, we make sure that we don't have anything to do with the personal data or personal apps and everything. It'll be just work related. So we can see more later on that. Now, the obvious question that we would have here is uh, the privacy concerns that we have from our colleagues, right? I tend to be aware of the application I'm using and the access they have to my data. So obviously, I wouldn't want my employer to be able to access anything from my device. So obviously for this, what we do is we are not interested in their personal data at all, but we need to assure the colleagues that we are just utilizing this for our work related information. So when we started with Workspace ONE UEM, what we initially did was uh, to come about the privacy thing. The first thing that we had is Workspace ONE UEM has a flexibility that connects the backend systems about what information is seen and what information is not seen. So when we have the privacy clip, what happens is it is going to connect to the backend system, and it would show you exactly what is being tracked and what is being not tracked. So whenever today a device is enrolled in our company, the privacy web clip is also pushed to the devices. Now with this, colleagues can actually see what is tracked and what is not tracked. When it comes to VMware, we don't track users' personal data or users' location or anything to do with personal. We just make sure that we collect work-related information and maybe anything specific to the intelligent hub, which is like the agent on the device, which will help with the enrollment. Apart from that, when we initially started off to boost adoption, we had started with communicating. That is like a key medium, of course. There were email communications made, and also internally here in VMware's social platforms, this was something that was communicated so that colleagues are aware of what this product is and how it can be utilized. Apart from that, we also had roadshows conducted across all different locations for VMware. So globally, there were events conducted where we could give information, and at the same time, our colleagues could have data, understanding about how the Workspace ONE UEM works, and also some experience so that we can help them with the enrollment and so that they can utilize this and understand. So even we started off with something small with 100 devices, but today all over the different platforms, we have 70,000 plus devices across all platforms. So that is how we started. And also getting up our support team to support these things. So we had also knowledge sessions given to everyone. And also we have enrollment videos now. Even if a colleague wants to enroll it himself, he should be able to access this enrollment videos and will be able to understand how the enrollment would work. Now, the key takeaways for this enrollment. So talking about Android for enterprise. So previously we saw Android for enterprise when we were talking about work managed Android. So that is something different. But today with Android enrollment, we have this option for Android for enterprise. So what is Android for enterprise? Now, Android for Enterprise is Google's option. It's not something that VMware has come up, but then Google itself has this option for any of the MDM managed solutions. So especially when it comes to Android devices, you have this option of integrating your Google suite with any of your MDM solutions. So Workspace ONE UEM has done this, and today here in VMware, we have utilized this so that we can provide this to our colleagues. With this, what happens is you have your personal and work completely separated. So we don't have to worry about, especially colleague coming back and saying that, this is my bring your own device and how would I want my work apps here. So this is a best solution when it comes to that, especially for Android. And with this, it depends on OEM to OEM. For example, when it initially started, like devices like Samsung, they would have a small work folder, and inside that all of your work apps are present, like we see in this slide. And apart from that, even when it comes to later phones like Pixel, they used to have a tab separation, whereas like one side you have all of your personal and one side you have the work related ones. So this is a very clear understanding, and the best advantage of this is you can actually have a restriction done on the IT end too. For example, if you don't want any of your work related information going to and from the personal side, you can make sure that you control that. Also, for example, if you want to enable VPN on one side, and it is going to be just applicable on the work side only, like it wouldn't work on the personal end. So this way it is very easy for us to have the data protection, and also with management it's completely easy. Next is a unified catalog. Now you see here the unified catalog. What happens with this is we have Workspace ONE Access integrated with Workspace ONE UEM. And with this, we can give this feature of unified catalog, which gives a similar experience across various device types. Be it, be it your Mac, be it your Windows, or your mobile devices, you will have a similar experience. So people or colleagues who are comfortable having this watched on the Workspace ONE UEM laptop consoles, where they have tried to access the portal and try to launch the applications in their website, they now have a similar platform across. They have a similar setup across all platforms. So even when they come to the iOS or Android devices, they would still see the same web apps, but additionally, they would also see a mobile apps category too. Now, when it comes to Windows too, they will have this different category for Windows native apps. And when it comes to Mac, they'll have a Mac native app section. So basically what I'm trying to say here is this gives like a uniform feel, so that it depends on, like, even if you keep switching your devices across all the platforms, it's still going to remain the same. And now we come to the most important concept of application delivery and configuration. So here what happens is you have different kinds of applications that you can deliver from Workspace ONE UEM, considering specifically to mobile devices. Here I've mentioned public and internal, but you have other options also, like web apps and purchased apps. So we're going to see a couple of internal apps also later on this slide. And here with web apps and purchased app, that is something that we can talk about in some time. But basically, public apps are the ones which are present in your Play Store as well as your App Store. So both in Play Store and App Store, you would have a lot of public applications. Now, these are the ones you can actually try to upload, and it will just do a redirect to the Play Store or App Store. So when a device is enrolled and a colleague wants to install an application which is already available in your public store, it is going to do a redirection to the Play Store or App Store from your Intelligent Hub application, and then from there you could download it. When it comes to internal apps, these are the applications which are developed internally. It still Workspace ONE UEM gives you an option to upload any of your IPA files for iOS devices and APK files for Android devices, and you can utilize these internal applications for any of the use. So here in VMware, we already saw in one of the slides, and you could see some of the internal applications which we can talk about. Apart from that, when it comes to purchase applications, this is mostly applicable to your volume purchase program concepts. That is, like, for example, if you want in your Apple devices, which is supervised, or your DEP enroll, you would want to have some of the applications purchased and maintain the license. That option is also there. And also there's also option for web applications too. So now if it's just like a web clip or a web link that you want to push along with your Workspace ONE UEM enroll device, you are free to do that. When it comes to delivery also, there are two different types, that is auto and on demand. So when I say on demand, it is mostly like we are going to push this application, it stays in the catalog. Colleagues are able to go ahead and download this application at the time of their convenience. But when it is auto, it becomes like a mandatory push. So whenever an application is automatic, colleagues don't have a choice, but they have to install this application. So now this is some option where, for example, we have a scenario where some of the security applications which are mandated across the company needs to be on the device. This option can be utilized, where it makes sure that every one of your devices enrolled has this application installed on it. But here in VMware, we go mostly for on-demand applications, where we give our colleagues a choice of installing applications on their own if it's relevant. You can also restrict it to specific BUs. For example, if it's like a finance related application, you can restrict it based on utilizing the smart groups or assignment groups provided in Workspace ONE UEM. Now, apart from that, you could see a small box where we speak about application configuration. Now, this is one of the most important things. So what happens is, you might ask me that you have public applications. Why would I want to go ahead and download it from Intelligent Hub when it's already on the Play Store? So this is like a very common question that comes across is on why the device needs to be enrolled and I download a public app rather than me directly downloading it from the Play Store. So the added advantage of enrolling it via public app is via Workspace ONE UEM is that we can manage this public app and send some application configuration to the device. For example, consider meeting app. Now, this meeting app, once you have downloaded from Play Store, it would obviously ask you to fill out some important aspects like workspace, or maybe some of the URLs, or you might have to click on single sign-on. And there are a couple of other options also, because when the app is built, it is not built specific to our company. It is built across every other company. So it's important that we redirect it to our company's portal or URL, and then you can start working on it. So this is what happens, and this is what is being saved with application configuration. These are nothing but key value pairs that you can send across. And what they would do is, for example, if I know that my workspace is VMware, I'm just going to pass that this is the key, which is workspace, and then it will be VMware as a value, and you're going to pass it across. And now when a device is enrolled and you download the application from the Intelligent Hub, it will auto populate this information on the mobile device, on the application. So you don't have to actually enter it. Now, this might be very simple for some apps. For some other apps, it might be like a single sign-on code, which is separate for every company. And this is something that all colleagues might not know. So they might have to end up asking IT for help or support when they do this. So this saves a lot of time, and even it's a big value add when it comes to experience. Now, we were talking about the internal applications that we have, and these are like some of the internal applications that we have here in VMware. And now, when I say internal applications, these are the apps you cannot find in the public Play Store or App Store. This is specific to VMware. But here, I wanted to take an opportunity and say that we have a lot of internal applications on our VMware console. That is almost 70 plus applications today, each on iOS as well as on Android. Yes, so we have like, this is like an advantage you could say, because colleagues would be more interested to enroll their devices, as they can have a lot of internal mobile applications presented to them. For example, considering vApprove. Now, this is one of the applications that we have here for any kind of approvals, especially for managers who would want all of their approvals in one place. For example, we have approvals regarding to travel and expense, or maybe there is for support ticket systems. So there might be approvals coming from different places, but this is very handy when it comes like all approvals in one single place, and managers can easily go ahead and approve at one time, looking at all the details there. So this is a very handy app. Also, we have other apps, like for example, Oasis. When we were working back in the offices, Oasis is nothing but an internal branding here in VMware for the support systems. And we used to have these Oasis centers where colleagues could come there, and then they could showcase their devices. And when they did that, they could they had to wait for some time sometimes, because there were like a lot of people. So this particular app is very helpful when they can schedule their appointment. It's just that they can just decide when the time is free, and they can schedule the appointment, and they can go and get the devices checked. So such kind of apps are very useful, and we call ourselves, this is like an internal catalog here in VMware, where they can utilize this. And one more value add is mobile single sign-on. Now, no one would want to enter their credentials a lot of times. Entering credentials every single time an application is open actually defeats the purpose, right? Because whenever your mobile application or mobile is enrolled, you would expect it to have everything in place, and you wouldn't want any of your devices asking your credentials again and again. So this is one thing that has actually helped with mobile single sign-on. With the combined effort of Workspace ONE UEM and Workspace ONE Access, you can actually have a single sign-on experience. So it's just like 200 plus applications, be it your web app, be it your native mobile app, you can have the single sign-on experience given to them. So basically, even if it's a website asking in the Chrome browser or any of the other browsers, it doesn't ask you for credentials. And even if it's a mobile internal app, like which we previously saw, even that wouldn't prompt you for the credential there. Coming to the profile management, Workspace ONE UEM does not restrict you just with applications here. You have a lot of different profiles that you can utilize for better management. Now, with we were previously talking about single sign-on, right? So even with single sign-on, you have an option there for sending the certificate. So it wouldn't work without sending the certificates. If a single sign-on has to work, you need to have the right profile and certificates on the device. And this is possible only with your some of the profiles that is being sent to the device. So we have a lot of different profiles and payloads that can be configured for Workspace ONE UEM, especially for mobiles too, and for all different platforms. So here we utilize some of the important profiles like Wi-Fi profiles and certificate delivery for VPN too. So when it comes to Wi-Fi profiles, it's basically like we have these events which happen sometime. For example, if it's a sales kickoff event where we have a lot of customers coming there, and there are a lot of other people also internally in VMware who are present there. And obviously you might have to connect to a Wi-Fi there, and then it becomes really annoying if you have to keep asking for the password and how to connect the Wi-Fi and stuff. So this is very handy because whenever a device is enrolled, you can make sure that a Wi-Fi profile is sent across with the proper SSID and the password and the protocol for the Wi-Fi. You can push across this device and make sure that whenever this Wi-Fi is detected, it should auto join. So now this might look simple, but then it creates a lot of value add. And whenever colleagues join across a specific event or something, it becomes very helpful. Now it can be extended to not only these events, but across offices too. So some of the offices here in VMware too, like specifically like the old offices and new integrations or new offices that are coming up, we have given this option where they have this Wi-Fi setup. So any VMware employee, if he would go to a different our partner office, they could automatically get connected to the Wi-Fi network. Now, certificate delivery for VPN. So certificate delivery can be for any reason. And this is also one of the things that is being supported by Workspace ONE UEM. So be it for connecting to your VPN solutions or for your single sign-on, certificate delivery is pretty smooth and is possible with Workspace ONE UEM. And apart from that, we also have a restriction profile. Now, I have just pointed out three things here, but then there are different payloads that can be utilized. But these are the main payloads that VMware is using currently for our mobile devices. So when we spoke about Android for enterprise earlier, we already saw about how there is work and personal separation, right? Now, we also spoke about how you can restrict all of this on being copied from one place to other, that is from personal to work or from work to personal. So this is something that you can decide based on a restriction profile. So if you want to have a complete strict management where you don't want to have anything copied to and fro, or maybe you wouldn't want even have your contacts be synced from here to there, or emails, you can make sure that that is possible. Also at the same time, if you want to give all these permissions completely free and you can have everyone do a lot of other tasks, even that is possible with the restriction profile. So basically you have the control on how you want to implement your solution, and you can easily do that with the help of restriction profiles. Now coming to the last few slides in the webinar, we have some additional applications also. Like you see here, two of the apps which you have mentioned, that is VMware Tunnel and Workspace ONE Web. So when it comes to Workspace ONE Web, it's just that this is an application that is part of our VMware suite itself. And this is like one of the options that you have to implement whenever your device is enrolled. You have an option to go ahead and select and make sure that this is available. And whenever this is available, the utilization of this is it helps you access your internal sites. Yes, so even if your device is enrolled, it doesn't mean that it is always accessible for internal sites, because you know how it works. So basically it's like if there is an internal site, if you want to access it, you would always want to have a VPN for that. But if it comes to Workspace ONE app web, without the VPN itself, you can make sure that you actually access this without the VPN. And when it comes to VMware Tunnel, this is one more thing that we have. And with VMware Tunnel, it becomes very handy when you want to have a per app VPN tunnel setup. So what happens is with VMware Tunnel, it's like any other VPN solutions. It will be very helpful when you have device traffic across all the platforms. But with VMware Tunnel, it's a per app VPN setup. So whenever VMware Tunnel is enabled, you don't have to actually do it for every single thing. That is, you can specify which website or which application can be utilized for accessing your internal site. So this is very handy when it comes to accessing specific sites or apps. Unlike your other VPN apps, which will enable for all of your entire device, you can restrict this, and then you can make sure that this is restricted only for some of the applications and some of the websites. So this is possible with the help of your device traffic rules. Now, device traffic rules is something that you have in the Workspace ONE UEM, and with this, you can easily utilize what kind of apps and what kind of websites can be used to access your internal resources. So today in VMware, we have this enabled for both of our iOS and Android platforms. We are planning to move across all other platforms too, but this is something which is very helpful. Coming to the last slide here, you can see that we have some of the current initiatives for Workspace ONE here in VMware IT. Now, one which I already covered is VMware Tunnel being pushed across all the platforms. So that is one of the goals that we have been working on. Apart from having just limited to iOS and Android, we are now having it pushed across Windows and Mac too. This is something that it's being worked on. And apart from that, we have hub notifications. Now, hub notifications is a feature with like the combined feature set of Workspace ONE UEM and Workspace ONE Access. We have this hub configuration services coming into picture. So with this, what happens is tomorrow, if you want to send a notification across all the devices enrolled, and it can be regarding an outage, or it can be regarding something that is important and you need to convey it, we can do it with the help of hub notifications. Here you can also restrict where you want to send this information to. So maybe if it's like a specific group of people, or if it's just a set of BUs, or it can be across all all the company, all your company, you can do that with the hub notifications. And finally, we have a few other things here. One of this is mobile flows. Now, mobile flows is very useful when it comes of giving a better experience. Mobile flows integrated with VMware Boxer, which is our email client, gives a lot of different options for implementing some of the different items. For example, if I want to talk more, maybe consider third-party apps. Like there might be some third-party apps which you want to access. Whenever an email comes to your client, there might be options where it will have like a specific comment, like considering our supporting system, which is like ticket system. There might be a place where you find a particular ticket coming, and then you have a place where you want to comment to it. But you have seen that in the email. But then if you want to actually go ahead and type in the comment, you wouldn't be able to, because you have to open the app and then you have to go to the site and then update your comment. But what mobile flows do is, like what they do is, they are going to integrate in the VMware Boxer itself a connector. For example, considering our ticket system, they might be a separate connector for our ticket system. And with this, they are going to show you cards like things that happens in your mobile phone, where you can actually literally comment directly without even opening the particular application. So I have given you a particular example with the ticket system, but if you want any other, like there are a predefined set of connectors that Workspace ONE UEM provides. Like there are for different third-party apps, which is there, but also it supports out-of-the-box connectors also. So for example, if there's some other integration you would want to do with VMware Boxer so that it can easily have cards like system, even that is possible with mobile flows. Coming to intelligence, so Workspace ONE Intelligence is something that is already a different part which is utilized for reporting and analytics. So this is something we have been utilizing mostly. For example, if you want to see how many devices are enrolled, or what kind of versions are being used, what OS versions are your colleagues having, all this information is possible with Workspace ONE Intelligence. And we are having another option too, where intelligence allows you to do a couple of automations also. For example, if you want to have like a trigger tasks enabled, that if this particular cause is met, then this is something that you would want, like, and maybe an email alert sent, or maybe a Slack notification sent. So basically any kind of integrations are also possible, and this is something that we have been looking at. And also finally, we have this adoption. So always, like I mentioned, today we have around 70,000 plus devices, but when it comes to mobile devices, since we have a lot of bring your own devices too, we have been encouraging our colleagues to enroll more and more so that they can take advantage of Workspace ONE UEM and basically utilize it. So I think we are almost at the end of this webinar now. Basically, if you want to know a lot more of any of the end user computing products, you are actually free to email VMware on VMware. So what happens is you can talk to IT administrators like me. And if you want to know in depth about our experience on handling any of the products, you can reach out to them. Also, we have amazing articles on blogs.vmware.com where you have articles on various products, and it can be very handy when it comes to that. So these are some of the upcoming webinars that's going to be there. And finally, we are at the question slide. So we have a few minutes, so I think we can take a few questions. Please feel free to have any questions that you want to add. So, okay, I have a question here regarding Android for Enterprise on what devices it's being supported. So if you know, Android for Enterprise is supported from Android versions 5.0 or more. So basically this is what initially it said that work profile is supported. But again, most of, if you want a better management, they usually ask us to have Android 6.0 or more. And if you go to Google's Android for Enterprise site, they have a program called Android for Enterprise Recommended. So here they specifically ask for 7.0 or more, because if they, and they have a couple of devices also which say that this is like the recommended one. It doesn't mean that it does not work for other devices. It usually does. But then they have, if you want to go ahead strictly with what Google is asking you to, then you can go ahead and check their website for Android for Enterprise. There it would tell you what kind of devices are compatible with Android for Enterprise and how it can be utilized. Now, you might have another question here about if it's only Android for Enterprise, do I have any other ways of enrolling for Android devices? So basically there is, as of now, even though we have been asked by for Android devices to move more and more towards Android for Enterprise, there is like the legacy enrollment, which doesn't have any work profile setup. It's just like a normal enrollment where colleagues can go ahead and enroll, and there will be no work for profiles, work or personal separation, but it will be everything on the same device. I think we are good now. We have almost completed this, and thanks again everyone for joining this webinar with me. Thank you. Have a great day.